listen to this, guys. Allianceblock has issued the following statement in response to an exploit of the decentralized lending protocol Bonk DAO. All right, let's jump right into that. Here we go from the original source from the Medium. I've blown this up as much as I could for you guys can see it a little bit easier. Some of this I'll mention verbatim and so on, but here's the official statement. And that is in regards to this exploit at around, just in case you have not been informed, right? Around 1830 CET on February 1st, lending protocol, Bonk DAO protocol was exploited with the attacker gaining access to ALBT troves, where Allianceblock's native token was used as collateral. Around 113 million ALBT tokens were illegally accessed before the hacker attempted to sell these on various exchanges. Now, I want to state this, all right, before we jump in further, all right? We need to realize that they have came out with a statement where they have halted this guy basically dumping those 113 million ALBT. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but that's one of the key takeaways I want you guys to understand, because once you have a broader perspective of what went down, you will understand that this is not as doom and gloom as everybody thinks it is. If anything, it's, I mean, even at 5 to 10% of the market cap of ALBT, I think it's not as obviously it's not going to be as crazy as 113 million. So I don't want people to think that this guy got away with the full 113 million, sold them all for the face value at the time, or while it was depleting in value and so on, and got away with, like, you know, a few $billion, right? That is not what happened. And we'll get into that. So it says, as soon as the incident was reported, Allianceblock communicated an announcement and conducted a preliminary investigation. The cause of the exploit was found to be a bug in the implementation of a price oracle used for the ALBT token. Now, I want to state this, all right? For all you guys who have done your research in regards to quant, what's one of the things that really stands out for quant? Yeah, the whole thing of, like, you know, not being an oracle, right? So that's a whole other story in itself. Don't get me wrong. There's something to be said about that. All right, so it said used for the ALBT token in the Bonk DAO protocol as a third-party protocol. Allianceblock had no input or control over the design. Interesting. Implementation and execution of the Bonk DAO protocol and smart contract as confirmed by the Bonk DAO in their statement. So when I see this, you know, when I was stating before, I even said to before on when I was talking to Mike Cornwell on the phone, and, you know, I said, I hope to God when they release this V2, it's not a situation where they just, you know, kind of quickly put out a V2, you know, like kind of like the Death Star, right? Hey, well, there's a vulnerability, you know, this needs to, you know, the rebellion can, you know, blow up the entire Death Star because of this small vulnerability we have. You know, let's just patch this up. It needs to be more than a patch up, right? We're not going to go jump from, you know, the previous ALBT, the was now referred to as the legacy token, to this new one, and basically it'd be a situation where it's literally the same thing, and you're just pulling, or you're just cutting ties with Bonk DAO. Like, nobody wants that. But let's get more into this. So it must be emphasized that none of the Allianceblock smart contracts and platforms were breached in the incident, and none of its other solutions have been affected. An Allianceblock response team was promptly assembled to minimize the effects of the incident and mitigate the damage from the illegally obtained ALBT tokens. Robust measures implemented have included the following: advising the Allianceblock community to cease trading ALBT tokens, pausing all activity on the Allianceblock bridge, excuse me, to prevent accessing liquidity on other networks. That's one of the key things here as well. Withdrawing liquidity on exchanges and pools, and requesting exchanges to halt trading. Let's talk about that for just a brief moment. So, you know, Mike brought up a very good, valid response to this. And again, we're not done with this, but here's one of the things he mentioned to me, and that was, all right, so, you know, this whole thing with the snapshot, right? Basically speaking, you have, you know, they stated that, like I myself, right? I kept my ALBT on KuCoin, and I moved whatever I had from the trading account to the main account, because obviously I want to ensure I get my airdrop. All right. I didn't buy any more ALBT. I didn't sell any ALBT. Actually before or after that thing happened, right? But my point is, I should be, based on what they mentioned, I'm assured I will get my airdrop of the new, whatever this is going to be called, V2, whatever it's going to be called, right? But what about the guy who, I don't know, like Lin he's a trucker, right? Or anybody else like that, driving down the road, right? He doesn't have time to look at all these types of things and so on. But he has, for instance, buy orders or sell orders, right? He just has like a bot set up to do that. And this guy spends $100,000 or more, and there's probably plenty of these types of people, 40,000, 100,000, so on. What about the guys who put in these particular orders? Are they SLL? And if so, that's quite a few different people. I mean, I understand there's people right now complaining about, I got lucky. Like, I think it was Daniel Gayton said something like, you lost $30. But what about the guys who have that particular issue? And it's not just KuCoin, right? You guys are on Uphold, some of these other platforms and so on. What about all that? Are they really going to be SLL? Because I mean, if anything, yeah, some people are calling this like a mini Black Swan event. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people. And like I was telling Mike, what if you have some guy who, I'm not saying this is what happened, but it could be. You had some guy, for instance, from, he made a fortune with Terra Luna and then he lost everything. And then ALBT, he's just like, I really believe in ALBT. I'm going all out in ALBT, right? And this happens. I mean, or how about this? Some guy who, for all you know, might be part of like SEAL Team 6, like the ex-Navy SEAL or something. You don't think some of those guys are going to be like, you know what? This is not me creating fun. I'm just being a realist. You know what? That Rashid guy, I might just take a trip over to Europe. I'm just saying, I'm not. Crazy things have been done. So I believe in ALBT's project. I think they got to get. I think they're fully aware of all these scenarios, but I wish there would just been a little bit more clarity about this situation. So back to this topic, and I'm just going to state this: as far as the 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out, I have to put some emphasis on this. Here's the thing. So Mike brought this up, and it's a very good, valid point. Right? The exchanges. All right. So you have, I know, just hear me out. This is not the tokenomic. This is not the supply of ALBT. I'm just gonna throw out an example. So let's say you have 1 billion ALBT, right? Well, if you have these exchanges, which they held all this on a particular wallet on that exchange, and there's just activity going on with those, exchange wallets, right? The point is this: activity can happen all day long, buy, sells, you name it, right? The main thing is the exchanges weren't buying and selling or moving is the main thing, right? From the exchange, let's for instance, KuCoin, Uphold, some of these other ones, to another one. For the most part, unless I'm mistaken, by all means, let me know. That didn't happen. So if that didn't happen, what happens with the snapshot based off all that? I don't have the answer for that. Mike doesn't have the answer for that. But these are the things that need to be mentioned. Now, he has put in, and I'm not trying to, misspeak for Mike. This is what I gathered from you, Mike. So if I'm not all on the 100% on the same page as you, let me know or put in the comments. But to my interpretation on what we mentioned on our conversation is, going forward, like how does this, what happens from here? And it's like, again, it's the whole thing with the snapshot. So we'll have to see. There has nothing been clarified in that regard. But anyway, let's get a little bit more into this. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent. The solution being developed, including minting a new ALBT token, let's just call it the V2, and airdropping, referred to as a token distribution going forward, into a wallet addresses with legacy, which is the old ALBT token. So if, like, for instance, if you log into KuCoin, I'm just throwing this example because I don't have Uphold, I see that my ALBT is there. I have it in my main. I'm not moving it from my main. It's just called the classic ALBT. It has no value, right? But it's just sitting there, and I'm just waiting it out, right? So a snapshot of the blockchain and exchange balances will be used to determine the recipients, regardless if they have tokens stored in hardware. Listen to this. This should answer some of these questions, because some of you guys mentioned to me, well, me and Larry, right? In the questions, well, what about me? I have mine on, Ledger. Ledger Nano or whatever, right? Cold storage. What about me? Here's your answer, okay? Regardless if they have tokens stored in hardware, software, or exchange wallets and staking contracts, the new token will replace the legacy, right? Which is basically the ALBT token that we know, and will not increase the token supply. So that also answers the question of, as far as, is there going to be, I guess, new tokenomics? Is there going to be a whole new circulating supply, a whole new amount of max tokens, max supply? No. So that answers that question. More information about the snapshot and token distribution mechanism will be announced shortly, and that's the main thing. It's all in a particular loop. Now, here, I'm going to jump down this particular part because, I mean, you can read this yourself. Follow me on Twitter if you want to get the info. So it said he as in Mathis Dave Rees, founder and CTO of Allianceblock. He added, listen to this, guys. This is crucial. This is where I want people not to panic so much. The actual damage in numbers involving ALBT from the bonk hack is closer to 1.6 million than the amounts previously reported by the media. Thank God. So if you're wondering, well, this guy got away with, what was 100 and I don't know what the heck it was, 113 million ALBT tokens, right? Which he did. You got to keep in mind, they halted this before he was able to, quote unquote, cash out all of it, right? Perfect analogy, like I mentioned the other day. This guy's part of a master heist, literally like a Hollywood film. Think about it, a master huge heist. And when he goes to cash out, it becomes the equivalent of basically robbing a convenience store, right? He got away with some, right? But not the big heist he was hoping for. So I'll restate it. The actual damage in numbers involving ALBT from the bonk hack is closer to 1.6 million than the amounts previously reported by the media. If you do the math, all right, and you look at, for instance, the circulating supply, total supply, and all that, based off of what happened here, this would basically be about roughly in the, this would affect about 5%. So what that also said, if we base things off of the snapshot, right, because we have to, that's what they're stating, the damage that will be done, the way I interpret it is this. Snapshot happens, let's reduce anywhere from 5% from, I guess you could say from like liquidity, market cap, and so on, right? And then from there, we can even round it off. You want to go higher than that because it fluctuates. Let's say 10%. I still think it's not the doom and gloom that everybody thought was of, oh my God, this guy got away with like, 50 to 60% of all the liquidity, right? That is not the case. Saying 10% is generous. Don't believe me? Ask Mike Cornwell. All right. So with that said, okay, Max, get to the main gist of it. I am. So we get our airdrops. All right. The way I interpret is this. Let's base it off of this 10%. So whatever ALBT was at the time of the snapshot, or before I should say, the value of that, we got to go to that, minus about roughly 10%. Then they come out with the V2, kind of like similar to Terra 2.0. They release it. As we know, with Terra 2.0, it was like $20, tanked down to $5 by the end of the day. The price fluctuated between, 2 to 5 consistently. ALBT, I think it's going to be a situation like this. They release it. It's going to be immediately about 5 to 10% from that snapshot. We get it. And let's just be real about it. With all the FUD, right, it becomes distress. You should see this thing tank. My attitude is if it tanks to a penny, I will load the truck up more because I still believe in this. Why is that? Look at freaking Gala. Look at some of these other projects in the past. Look at freaking Bitcoin in the past. These things that happen. I'm not trying to justify you guys. I'm stating that I'm trying not to justify this at all. But what I'm going to show you guys here in a bit is this right here. I know I spent a long time talking about this, but it needs to be mentioned. And that is this. You know me. I'm not a fudder, okay? I never have been. But at the same time, I try to be real. And I also try to give some people not just hope, and it's not hopium, but let's refer back to history of some other projects that went through a similar thing. Boom, here you go. Ocean had a hard fork due to a third-party hack, ironically on KuCoin. in September 2020. Listen to this, guys. This did not affect price action moving forward, nor previous charting history for the token. Allianceblock will do the same thing, maybe, right? I'm not saying 100%. Bonk messed up, but this situation will be salvaged for ALBT investors. And let's take a look into this. Back in September 27, 2020, Ocean Protocol initiated that particular hard fork. All Ocean token balances from the previous, as you see right here, token contract reflected on this Ocean token if you want to dig deeper into it, right? All the information's there and a little bit more in regards to this. Look what you see right there. Kind of like what I literally just mentioned. So, I mean, my thing is, again, I cannot state this or reiterate this enough. I know a lot of people are panicking and so on. Understand what you got into with ALBT. If you believe it's a solid project with real solid partnerships, hence Quant and so on, we have been into this long. We just got to wait and see what the heck is going to happen and then base things off of that. But I will state this, like I mentioned also to Mike Cornwell, and that is, if this thing keeps happening over and over and over, then obviously, you know, as the saying goes, if you have, you can have the greatest utility in the world, but if you lose the trust, your ship is sunk. I want to give this a second shot, and we'll see what happens from here.